And all the brothers and sisters said, "Amen."
I love that you think we're going to punch him in the mouth.
Fingers crossed, right?
And I ain't
Come on, let's finish the content here.
in the Venn diagram of fucked up, I'm not sure where that fits, but I'm pretty sure I hit the nail right on the head there.
Works well under close Nick Saban adult supervision.
Randy Sanders has the team dialed in. They are ready to go.
How many bananas do you want out of this?
I don't want to get Vanderbilt's run here.
I love those head games in the two.
You got to weigh all your options. Nobody wants to go Lane Kiffin? I might go Lane Kiffin here.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Liquor and Leagues. Episode 2. We're here. We're excited. Unfortunately, 50% of our crew will not be here today, but that's okay. We're going to make picks without them, and we're going to roll the train along. I've invited Lee Corso into the studio. Lee Corso and I are going to make picks for everybody. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting. We're going to be talking about the week of SEC football that was and the week that's coming up. We're going to make our picks, our predictions, and see what happens. So I'm super excited that you're here, Lee. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. It's our Lee Corso lookalike. I'm interested to see what your picks and predictions are for the upcoming week. And we'll talk about what you picked last week. Who were the winners? Who were the losers? But yeah, super excited to be here. So you know what? Let's waste no time. Let's get started. Lee,
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm pumped.
All right, he's ready. Did you
Another
bring your
week of college football?
Did you bring your headpiece to put on?
I brought my my headpiece. So we're ready to go. And look, the beautiful thing is,
there's no
with two
beautiful
people
thing.
out. No, they take losses on everything.
Oh, that's our forfeiture policy.
That's
I'm
our
sorry.
forfeit. That is our COVID forfeiture policy.
We did mention that. If you're not here, you take a loss. That's unfortunately how it works.
You cannot show up if you cannot field a team to be on the call.
That's right.
Then you take a loss.
Sorry,
guys.
That's right. The commissioner is not here, so we have our standing commissioner who has graciously updated me on the rules. I appreciate that. I almost dropped the ball. If you are not here, that does constitute a forfeiture by you and your team. And so, yes, that's losses across the board. Oh, that's not good. That's going to put them in a hole before the season really gets started, as some of the teams we have seen are already in a hole as the season has just started. But that's okay. Mac, how you doing, brother? I'm glad you're here.
Dude, I'm excited to be here. I am super pumped. It was week 1. College football is back.
A lot of games played.
A lot of games played. A lot of people in the stands. But for one day, college football felt normal again.
It did, even though there were no masks.
But that's normal, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So, you had the energy back in the stadium. You had people cheering. You had the fans there rooting everybody on. I mean, unless you were in Nashville at the Vandy Stadium and then, it was a fucking empty train wreck. But other than that, it was great to see all the games being played with fans in the stadium. What does next week bring with, super spreader events? I don't know. That's not what we're here to talk about today. No, we're here to talk about college football and the games in the SEC that were played yesterday.
That's right. And so let's run down real quick. We're going to run down the list because, some of these games were just academic by nature. I think some were a surprise, but for the most part, I think a lot of the games turned out the bulk of how most of us thought they were going to. So real quick, let's jump back to Thursday, September 2nd. That was the first game for SEC play in week 1. That was Tennessee Bowling Green. Obviously, Tennessee came out of the gate, punched Bowling Green in the mouth, 38-6. No real contest, no real surprise. I can't say I care. And I can't say I'm really that impressed.
It's the game that you expect them to win. And quite frankly, I mean, unless you live in Knoxville, who the fuck cares about Tennessee?
There you go.
So moving right along.
Yeah, let's move on. Saturday, September 4th, because obviously that was the next big set of games. So Saturday, September 4th, Kentucky, UL Monroe. Kentucky wins that game 45-10. We all pick Kentucky. Again, no real surprise. UL Monroe, who are they? I don't know, and neither do you. So who gives a fuck? Let's just move on. Did it really show us anything?
I mean, I think the one thing that I got out of that game is that I do think Kentucky has a quarterback, which is a little concerning. The kid, Will Levis, and I probably just completely butchered his name, looked really good. Again, it's UL Monroe, right? You expect him to look really good playing with all the starters, but, Kentucky looked good.
All right, moving on. Arkansas Rice. Arkansas comes out, They win 38-17. We all picked Arkansas. Again, no
Nothing
big
to see
surprise.
here. Moving right along. Who
No,
cares
no.
about Arkansas?
Although I will say, I heard an interesting stat. They returned every starter from last year.
And I'm still not worried about them.
No, but I'm saying
So,
for them in terms of
yes.
building the program, or at least continuity in the program, what is it? Sam Pittman, I believe, is the coach there.
I believe that's the coach there now. Yeah.
To return all your starters, that's quality. That gives them another year of continuity and consistency. We'll just see how it plays out over the course of the next 12 weeks. It's
Right.
just one game, a lot of season left to play. All right. Number 1 versus number 14, Alabama versus Miami. Nobody was surprised by this scoreline. I don't think 44-13.
The only thing I'm surprised by is Jesus Christ. They just keep rolling.
Right.
I mean, if there's any team in the nation that just epitomizes next man up, it's the freaking Alabama Crimson Tide. And oh my God, it makes me sick just to say that.
And
But, they just, again, to your point, nobody anticipated anything different, right? You expected them to beat University of Miami, no problem. But the way they just came out and played, you have a quarterback that hasn't really started a game, comes out. I mean, was very efficient. I don't think he had any turnovers.
Nope.
And looked really good in doing it. So I think that's a team that, you just anticipate that unless they, trip over their own feet, they're going to be in Atlanta.
They say roll tide for a reason. They just keep fucking rolling no matter what. Yes, Bryce Young, 27 for 38, 344 yards and 4 TDs. He set a school record as a starting quarterback, first starting quarterback to put up those kind of numbers, which is massive when he's coming off the heels of a Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, right? I mean, he's got that pedigree, it's
just ridiculous.
Look at us, brother. We are in sync.
But they're not names that are just huge names, though. They just get the job done.
Right, and he still comes out and sets records.
Yeah,
it is scary. Thankfully, they're in the West. Unfortunately, the road does go through Alabama for Florida this year in week 3. We will be facing them at home.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it matters.
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
The machine. That's the only word I have to say for Alabama. It is a machine, and that machine is well oiled by Nick Saban, and it just keeps running and steamrolling people. And I think it's going to for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. All right, let's move it along. Central Michigan, Missouri. This one, Missouri wins 34-24. We all pick Missouri. Again, I don't think any surprise there. Or
no,
at least,
but I think Central Michigan kept it a little bit closer than what Missouri would have expected.
Yes.
So I think from that standpoint, it was a good game. But to your point, we all picked Missouri. We all figured they were going to come out on top.
Yep. The surprise in the bunch for me, not in terms of our pick, Miss State, Louisiana Tech. Miss State squeaks out a struggle win, 35-34.
They had to come from behind.
Yes,
I think, right? So that really.
But here's my thing.
I don't know where to go.
The interesting part about this is they were all but shut down in the first half. Louisiana Tech just managed to shut down that air raid offense. For some reason, in the second half, they didn't do that. And so it was interesting to note that Mississippi State managed to find the formula in the second half to turn it on. And especially in the fourth quarter, I think they scored like 3 or 4 unanswered touchdowns and actually came back to win. Now, yes, you can say it's a struggle win, 35-34.
It's a win, though.
But it's a win. And if they figure out that formula and can run it through 4 quarters, do they become dangerous? I don't know. All right. The train rolls on as well. We'll call this the Gus bus because Auburn Akron. Now we know Gus Malzahn is no longer with Auburn. That bus has left the station and has actually landed in Central Florida at UCF, which surprised the shit out of me. I didn't know that. Yeah. But Auburn is under new management, and they came out of the gate with a 60-10 win over Akron. Now, yes, it's Akron, but last year Auburn was so inconsistent.
That's what you expect to see in what basically amounts to a preseason game.
Yes.
You expect them to put up 60 points. You don't expect them to put up like 24 to 30 points and give up 14 points. No. But I digress.
Yes. You expect that 60.
You expect the 60. And quite frankly, you expect them to, lay a goose egg unless, you're running in your third string at the end of the game and they get off a touchdown or a field goal.
It is interesting that you mentioned that because that brings us to our next game. The only team this weekend, the only team in the SEC to prevent any scoring on the other side of the ball was South Carolina against Eastern Illinois, 46-0, coming off an abysmal fucking season under Will Muschamp, who they fired, who they still paid, who is now at Georgia, I believe. Yeah, 46-0. I'm not even sure how to take that game. Now you go Eastern Illinois, but based on the way they played last year, they came out. Clearly, the defense showed up.
I think it gives you, and we use this word a lot, right? I mean, it gives you a little bit of hope. But, as Haas will mention,
it's a deadly thing.
Give you just a little bit of hope, and then you get, your throat cut.
Yes.
So, I think, again, we'll have to see as the season goes along if they can continue that, right?
But it does bring me to an interesting storyline for South Carolina. And I imagine if Haas was here, he would talk about this. So I'm going to do it. Is their starting quarterback, Zeb Nolan, who was a graduate assistant coach a week ago. Shane Beamer asked him to suit up and compete for the starting job. And he beat the senior starter, and he took the first snap, 13 for 22, 121 yards and 4 TDs.
Good on him.
That
makes you feel good inside, right?
Yeah, a guy who hung up his cleats in favor of coaching. Nothing wrong with that, but was asked, hey, do you mind as a veteran coming in and just helping us out? And then through the course of doing that, actually won the starting job. And
you think that initially the plan was, just come in, provide some, locker room leadership for these guys, right? Get in the quarterback room, give them some insight. And then to your point, ends up beating them all out and winning the starting job.
Now,
what does that say about, who they have in that quarterback locker room? I don't know.
And of course, we don't have Haas here to talk about that. But again, didn't put up monster numbers. He was no Bryce Young, right? But 13 for 20, right? He was 13 for 22, 121 yards, 4 TDs. He was efficient. He didn't make mistakes. No interceptions. There was one fumble. But then, you can say, well, they only put up 185 passing yards. Yeah, but Zaquandre Wright put up 128 yards as a running back for South Carolina, and they massed almost 300 yards of running offense. So clearly their running game has got it together, and it appears their defense has showed up. Now, again, yes, you can say it's Eastern Illinois. When they face a stout team, how will they fare? And that is just going to be a matter of let's wait and see. All right, let's keep moving. We're going to skip. We'll skip this one and come back to it. Let's go ahead and jump to Florida FAU. Florida's 13th. They take on in-state, I won't say rival, but in-state school FAU, Florida Atlantic, under Willie Taggart, who, if you know Florida football, has jumped around to just about every school in this state unsuccessfully, from University of South Florida to a stint at Florida State. Now he's at FAU.
Spent some time out in Oregon, I think, right? Too.
He did.
In between somewhere. Yeah.
He's like a flea you just can't shake.
He
just keeps showing up. Yeah. 35-14. Not sure how I felt about this game. What I can tell you is there was one person I absolutely was thrilled with, and that was the backup quarterback,
Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You and I talked about this during the game as we were watching it. We've been waiting a while to see. Damn it, I'm even blanking on his name now because I want him out of the rotation.
Emory Jones.
Thank you. He's already dead to me.
You're dead to me.
A while to see him take the reins. He was a Dan Mullen recruit, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
He kind of fits that bill. And just, I don't know. He just didn't seem to have his act together. He's had, they mentioned, I think this was his 24th game he's played in. First time he started. So it's technically his 25th game. And just some of the decisions you and I talked about, he made were questionable.
At best. Questionable.
Yeah. So I definitely was more impressed with Anthony Richardson. 35-14. I just, you expect to see more of those 60 to 3 numbers, right, in that first game. And this just wasn't that. I don't feel like, they had all of their ducks in a row, for lack of a better phrase.
I want 35 points by halftime.
Right.
So from September 2nd to September 4th, all of the games we just announced, all of us picked the exact same. Okay, so there's no separation. So we're going to get to the final 3 games in terms of our picks last week. So let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to start with UCLA, LSU. Haas picked UCLA. The other 3 of us picked LSU. We saw how that came out. LSU traveled across the country to the Rose Bowl, has never played there. 38-27. UCLA said, you come into our house, we're going to show you how it gets done. And that's exactly what they did.
I don't even know if it's so much that, but Haas.
Drama. I'm adding drama. Didn't you feel
God
it?
damn it. You're a goddamn genius. He clearly saw something that nobody else saw.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Or just guessed right, because LSU was a bad team last year. I think, we all knew, we all thought, you don't know what you're getting with them. We saw what we're going to get with them this year, I think.
Right.
They were a poor team yesterday. They need to find somebody that can teach them how to tackle, because holy shit, some of the missed tackles in that game against UCLA, I'm like, look, I'm an old fat guy and I could have tackled some of these guys. I mean, they just literally had them wrapped up and they just ran right through them. And so I don't know, is that tackling drills? Is it strength and conditioning? We've seen that before at Florida. How do you fix that? But they clearly have a problem on the defensive side of the ball, which is something they've always hung their hat on with tackling.
Let's move on to the other, for me, eye opener, and that was Vanderbilt ETSU. And if you don't know who ETSU is, that's Eastern Tennessee State University in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Fighting Buccaneers
in the Southern Conference.
Yes. And I want to apologize. I do think we originally had some bad information, and that was probably from me. I got super hyped up on them. Said they were from the Pioneer League. They are not. They are from the Southern Conference, and apparently are very solid in the Southern Conference.
Yes, I wanted to hang my hat on the fact that Vanderbilt had new management, and maybe we're going to try to right the ship, or at least find some way against an out of conference, what I think most people would consider a lesser program. They would be wrong, because ETSU came out of the gate and they managed to put up 23 points, and their defense all but shut Vanderbilt down. Now, I will say this, Vanderbilt put up some yardage in looking at the stat lines.
It was bend, but don't break. Right. And let's be honest. I mean, again, not the SEC, it's the Southern Conference, but they had the number one defense in the Southern Conference last year at ETSU. So they're not, they're no slouches there. I mean, their cornerbacks, they basically put them out on an island against these, what I think are fairly solid sized receivers for Vanderbilt, and they shut them down.
They did.
So they were able to, stack the box, load the box, whatever you want to call it, and come after, Ken Seals all night, and he never looked comfortable.
Last game. This was the other separator. So, of course, I apologize for our listeners. Haas picked UCLA. The rest of us picked LSU. He won that pick. In terms of Vanderbilt, ETSU, Mac picked ETSU as the lone standout. We all went with Vanderbilt mistakenly. Mac won that pick. Good on you. It brings us to our last game, and we were a house divided here, 50-50. Georgia Bulldogs, number 5 versus number 3 Clemson. Haas and Grinch both went with Georgia Bulldogs. You and I defaulted to Clemson. The score, or the Vegas stats, said it was a 3-point difference,
like 3.5 point difference. Yeah,
right, minimal. Right, this game really could have gone either way. I will say this about that right out of the gate, and then I'll let you speak. Georgia, offensively, didn't impress me.
No.
They hung their hat on a quarterback, in my opinion, who has never really been tested at Georgia. He played 4 games last season, and I know I talked about this with you last night. He was 4-0, but he hadn't faced a defense in the top 40 until last night. And Clemson defensively came to play. Georgia defensively came to play. Both offenses struggled. They were both anemic. Georgia offensively only put up 6 points. Clemson offensively only put up 3. By all accounts, this game should have ended 6-3. Were it not for one saving grace, and that was a pick 6 by the Georgia defense. And we end 10-3. Now, I know Grinch will argue with me, and maybe it is the real deal. I will not deny Georgia's defense, 7 sacks. They're the real fucking deal.
Oh, they scare me. After watching them last night, they really do. I mean, and they say defense wins championships. So, there's a lot of football left to play, but
I agree.
They've got a defense on them.
But I don't think their offense. Now, I know they were missing some major players on offense last night. As soon as they come back, that probably changes the entire landscape. Passing, JT Daniels was 22 for 30, 135 yards. Again, not great numbers compared to DJ Uiagalelei, or however you say his name.
I think
Clemson,
that's it.
19 for 37, 178 yards, 1 interception. that kid just struggled from the pocket because his timing was just behind. And that's what they were saying. For some quarterbacks, the game slows down. For this kid, it's moving faster than it should. And he got sacked 7 times. And he was just holding on to the ball way too long, way too long. In terms of the stat line, though, like first downs, fairly the same. Third down efficiency, fairly the same. Time of possession, 1.5 minute difference, 2-minute difference. I mean, it wasn't drastically different. And it's probably why the game ended 10-3. If he doesn't throw that interception, which gets taken back to the house for 6 points, this potentially is an entirely different game. So I'm not sold on Georgia offensively. And you're going to need your offense to win. I agree. Defense will do the job, but you're going to need your offense to win. And so I'm not sure.
I don't know that we learned enough about either team last night.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think Georgia did what they had to, right? This was a statement game, and they came out of it with a win.
Yes. Let's move on to the week that is and go ahead and make our picks. So those you can see, those are Grinch's picks. So Alabama State at Auburn. Who would you like, brother?
I'm going to take Auburn.
Okay.
And Grinch, just, we'll read it off just so we know. So Grinch took Auburn as well.
And you are taking Auburn.
I'm going to take Auburn.
South Carolina, East Carolina. Now, East Carolina, I believe, just got beat by App State this past week.
They did.
Handily.
That's I don't know at East Carolina.
It is. Again, is this one of those?
I'm taking South Carolina. I think I got to stick. I mean, a few years ago, maybe I would have taken East Carolina. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of them lately to see, if they're still the same team that they were a few years ago that could pull off the upset. But
okay,
I think I'm sticking with South Carolina.
So you and Grinch both South Carolina. All right, game 3, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. This is at home for Tennessee in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, I think I go Tennessee there as well, just like Grinch.
Okie dokie. Florida traveling to Raymond James Stadium here in Tampa to take on my alma mater, South Florida, who got the shit kicked out of them by NC State. If anybody missed it, they've never been able to write that shit.
That, though?
I did actually,
no,
and I know Grinch did because his daughter attends NC State.
That's true. I'm taking Florida. I don't see. Again, there was nothing out of the game yesterday that made me think they would lose to a team like South Florida.
Okay. This one should be a no-brainer. UAB versus Georgia, unless UAB has something we don't know about.
Look, I talked to the coaches. No, I'm going
easy,
Georgia.
All right, so you and Grinch both went Georgia. Texas A&M, Colorado.
Texas A&M. They look really good.
Grinch also chose Texas A&M. Mercer, Alabama.
Alabama, that's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. Okay, you and Grinch as well. Here's one. Texas,
this is
Arkansas.
where it gets a little tricky, right? I mean,
Arkansas's coming off a win against Rice, 38-17. As I said, returned all their starters, though. They did return all their starters, so consistency and continuity. Sarkisian is trying to get Texas up and running. So, yeah, you got to.
I think I go Texas.
Going Texas. Okay.
And they're playing in Arkansas, but
they are.
I still think Texas has got a little more stability in their program maybe right now.
Okay. I like how I just said all their starters are returned, and you're telling me your justification is Texas has more stability.
I think so.
That's interesting. Okay. No, I'm
and
not.
And they got Matthew McConaughey. So,
I mean, how do you go wrong there, right?
Right.
NC State, Mississippi State. As I said, NC State beat a incredibly pathetic, and I can say that because that's my alma mater, South Florida. They laid a goose egg. It was 0. I think it was 45-0.
And Miss State struggled mightily against
but did come back. They did come back and put that win up. So they found a way to win, and that's really what it's about, right?
Look,
No, I'm not trying to convince you.
Going NC State, I think.
NC State. Okay.
Yeah.
You and Grinch both. Missouri, Kentucky. Now, if ever there was a middle of the pack, who do you go for coin flip this week? This, I think, is it.
Yeah, and I reached out to a guy I work with who's a huge Kentucky fan.
So you're going Missouri. Got it.
And yeah, no, I mean, I asked him, I said, look, I said, Kentucky looked good against, kind of a mid-tier team or really a lower tier team. I said, Missouri struggled. I said, I don't know where to go. He said, go Kentucky. He said, I think we've got a quarterback this year. He said, I think we can beat some of these middle of the road teams like Missouri and Arkansas. So I'm going Kentucky.
Kentucky.
I'm going to take his word for it. And if he's wrong, I'm going to let him hear about it.
There you go. All right. Austin, PA versus Old Piss. This is a home game. I assume Lane Kiffin will be back on the sideline. I know.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. COVID
I'm
protocols
going-
preventing him from being there this week.
I'm going Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all, they're really so far the only game that has really kind of been a struggle game is that Texas Arkansas game.
Okay. LSU McNeese. I'm assuming will be played in Death Valley. It's scheduled to be played in Death Valley. I don't know in terms of the hurricane.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, whether they're going to be back to being able to play there yet or not. It's hard to say with all the devastation that's happened there. But part of me wants to pick McNeese just because, I mean, LSU is just such a disaster right now. But I think I got to go LSU. I mean, as bad as they are, they should be able to beat McNeese.
Okay. LSU it is. You and Grinch both sticking with LSU, staying in conference. And then finally we rounded out with your favorite to hate, Vanderbilt.
Look,
No,
I don't want to hate
look.
them. I don't want to hate them. They just
Really?
make it
'Cause
so
comes
easy.
across like you do. So they will be traveling across the country to Colorado State.
They're going to be out there in Colorado. The air's thinner. I think for me, this really isn't. I mean, it's not even a contest. Go Rams.
Going Colorado State.
all the way. I mean, I'm picking against Vandy until they show me they can win a damn game.
Guess we'll find out, won't we? In a week's time, we will know. All right. So Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama, Texas, NC State, Kentucky, Ole Miss, LSU, Colorado State. So in case you didn't notice, you look at that list, there is zero separation between you and Grinch.
Yep.
Which means come what may, at the end of this next week, We're will still be tied.
Yep.
The question is, will you be ahead or behind anybody else? But you two will be tied.
Right. But I mean, again, these are, I anticipate that most everybody's picks this week are going to be, with the exception of like maybe 2 games, they're all going to be about the same.
I agree.
So
okay.
There won't be a whole lot of separation this week, I don't think.
Right. And again, we'll leave Haas as soon as I get his. I will input those. But let's go ahead and move on to me. Alabama State, Auburn. I'm going Auburn. I think that's a no-brainer. I agree with the rest of you. East Carolina, South Carolina. East Carolina they looked ineffectual against Appalachian State. Now, I'm not being critical of Appalachian State. They play some good ball. But I think based on last week, and that's what we have to go off of.
Right.
Shane Beamer's got them together. We'll see if Zeb Nolan comes out and is at least efficient, controls the ball. He looks poised in the pocket, doesn't make mistakes. I'm going South Carolina. Pittsburgh, Tennessee. At home, Neyland Stadium, fucking 104,000. I'm sure they'll cram into that stadium maskless. I'm going Tennessee as well. I think it's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
Florida, South Florida. They're my alma mater. I would love to be able to.
You have to be loyal, babe. You got to go with your alma mater.
And I would love to, but after laying a goose egg against NC State, no. I'm going no. So it's definitely going to be a Florida for me. I would love to see them turn the ship around, have Emory Jones come out, put up monster numbers, at least show us that he's not going to make mistakes, that, he's got a head on his shoulders. And if not, put Richardson in and let's see what he can do. But I'm going Florida. UAB, Georgia. As much as I want to go University of Alabama, Birmingham here, I just think Georgia's defense, it's a shutdown defense by all intents and purposes. I don't care. So I'm going to have to go Georgia. I'm sorry, UAB.
Were you trying to justify your pick there?
I was. That's how
sad.
I do. That's how I do. Texas A&M, Colorado, the herd of buffaloes.
The Buffaloes.
The Buffaloes.
Stampede.
Yeah.
A lot of games going on in Colorado next week. That's going to be interesting.
I'm going Texas A&M here.
Safe bet.
41-10 against Kent State. Who's Kent State, you ask? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They put up 41 points against them. But here, I think they can probably put down Colorado and the Buffalo. Mercer, Alabama, definitely Alabama.
This is Mercer all the way, baby.
That's a
Go for it.
no-brainer. Texas, Arkansas. I'm going to take a chance here. I think it's going to come back.
And we don't know, right? I mean, Haas may take Arkansas.
That's true. That's true. I'm hoping that the ETSU gods will shine down on me as they have shown down on you last week, and cut me some fucking slack. But that has not generally been the way of things. I'm going to go Arkansas over Texas.
All right.
I'm hoping that the stability you talked about with Texas, I'm hoping that Arkansas has that. I'm hoping that they having all of their starters back, maybe that will help. Mississippi State, I think, is just the unknown is too great to say that I think they can pull off beating NC State. I just don't know that I'm there. So I'm going to go with Arkansas over Texas and NC State over Miss State. And I'm going to lock my picks in right there. And we're going to see what happens.
Kentucky, Missouri.
I'm going to go with Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay. You didn't call it out, so I wanted to make sure.
I'm going Kentucky, Missouri. That's at home for Kentucky. I think.
And we are not sharing these picks with Haas before he sends in his picks. Right?
No, absolutely not. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have locked in our picks, at least Grinch, Mac, and myself. We are ready to go for week 2 of Liquor and Leagues, looking for the next set of games on the 11th of September. Hope they will be good. Hope that I get my win with Arkansas. Maybe not. Maybe I go down a game. That's okay. I've got plenty of time to make it up. I'm just going to have to be strategic, but we will see what happens. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Join us each week for Liquor and Leagues. I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say it won't be the first or last time you've gone down. So.
That's true. Absolutely. Join us each week for Liquor and Leagues. Get our take, our insight on the games that are, the games that were, and the games that will be. Find out what our picks are. Find out who's in the lead. Find out who's on the road to winning that phenomenal bottle of bourbon and who is going to end up in last place with the Bananas Award. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Bananas Award. If you're not sure what it is, you'll find out. Don't you worry. Times are coming. But Liquor and League Season 2 rolling on. Definitely join us each week. And as always, we love everybody coming in. All of you masturbators joining us for a spirited debate. Coming back again for Liquor and Leagues. We love having you guys. And we will do this again next week. So thank you very much.
Have a great week.